Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock. Coming up, I'll tell you why Colin Kaepernick protege Eric Reed is struggling to find a new team.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I think Russell Westbrook just took a shot at me. I got to shoot back. Speak for yourself starts now on a Wednesday.
You deserve it if he did.
Listen, he's a very dynamic player.
You deserved it if he did.
Stat patter, but nonetheless.
All right, hello and welcome. Joining us today is the greatest broadcaster in all of sports, Joe Klatt. And making his Speak for Yourself debut, quarterback guru Jordan Palmer. We start in the NFL, where there are now several reports that the Browns are expected to draft Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen #1 overall. Now, there have been concerns about Allen since he only completed a paltry 56% of his passes in college, but he is drawing comparisons to another not-so-accurate quarterback, Cam Newton. Andy Benoit of the Monday Morning Quarterback says, quote, both are power arm throwers who can move the chains even when the defense wins, but who can also short-circuit drives with wild inaccuracy. Allen has the stronger arm and sharper on-the-move throwing precision. Newton is a more dynamic runner. Both pose layers of problems for a defense. Cowherd, is it crazy to compare Josh Allen to Cam Newton?
It is to me. The SEC at the time Cam dominated it was the best conference in football. Now it's very top-heavy. You know, at the time, their seventh best team was going and winning a bowl game by 3 touchdowns. Cam dominated it. He also completed 65% of his throws, and that was the conference giving you 50 NFL defensive players. Cam was a transformative athlete. Nobody doubted he was a #1 pick. I don't even remember a lot of talk that Cam could be a bust. Now, I will say this. He's never quite lived up to what I thought he would be.
Only one MVP.
And 1 Super Bowl. Josh Allen, when I look at him, I see bust all over the place. I see a guy that played in a lesser conference. He played Iowa, Oregon, struggled. That 56% accuracy scares me. He's a superstar at the combine. Those guys have, through the years, scares me. I don't know. Cam, to me, is an all-time talent. Josh Allen is a world-class arm.
Yeah, to me, this is trolling. This is trying to be woke or different. Or look, I'm going to compare this big white quarterback to a big black quarterback. I'm going to be different than everybody else. The comparable is Ben Roethlisberger. You don't have to. And Ben Roethlisberger, to me, is a better athlete than Josh Allen, but both played mid-major football, both very big, both strong arms. And look, I just don't even think, and he kind of says it in here, when you compare him to Cam Newton and you acknowledge he doesn't have Cam's leg, all he has is Cam's arm, that's an insult. Because Cam's arm in the NFL isn't that accurate, and what makes him dynamic is his ability to run. I just don't like the comparison.
Yeah, you know, for me, I think it's dangerous, Colin, to go the route you went. What? In comparing college quarterback's completion percentage, because the offenses are so different. You know, Gus Malzahn's offense, and that's essentially the offense that Cam came out of, it's there to complete 65%. I mean, you are making very easy throws, completable passes, decisions that are made for you. Josh was not in that type of offense at Wyoming. He was making big boy throws. And so your completion percentage is going to suffer just born out of the schematics of what you're trying to achieve and the throws that you're trying to make down the field. So I'm not as concerned about his completion percentage maybe as some. Plus, his core of wide receivers wasn't the best. He has not thrown them under the bus, which I think is a big feather in his cap. The fact that he's kind of gone out there and worn it like a badge of courage. I will say this. I think there are elements of Big Ben's game and Cam Newton's game because he does throw max effort like Cam Newton a lot where they're not throwing with a lot of touch. But he's also a guy that's not going to win with his legs, but he is very good with his legs in getting away, being elusive in the pocket, and buying himself time, and that's very Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about touch, what you're talking about is I see the player here, but I'm going to throw him over there. And so with that comes a lot of trust. I have to know that my receiver is going to get to a certain spot at a certain time and a certain location, and I'm going to deliver it on time. So much about playing quarterback is controlling the ball, controlling where it's thrown, controlling when it's thrown, and controlling what the tempo the ball has on it. You have to understand where your guy is going, and I think there was enough issues with Josh in college with the supporting cast around developing that trust. When I compare that to Cam Newton, I go, well, he's had 4 or 5 cracks at it in the NFL of developing that anticipation, and we've seen him want to see guys open and then throw them the ball, as opposed to throwing guys open. With Josh, put NFL talent around him. It's not automatic by no means, but I believe what I've seen in person and even what we saw in Mobile, we saw him fitting the ball into windows, but in the game we saw through 2 touchdowns that he threw, layered to a spot, trusting the guy that he's known for 12 minutes.
And that's so important.
It's there.
Because, and correct me, if you think that this is off base, but I think that quarterbacks in the National Football League really win with 3 elements of their game. You win with the ability to anticipate, you win with touch, and you win with accuracy. That's where you win, in particular between the numbers. And early in the Senior Bowl process, Josh struggled with that. Between the numbers was not his strength. Guys like Baker were throwing the ball much better than him between the numbers. He's obviously great outside the numbers and down the field. But as the week went on, all of a sudden you saw some anticipation, you saw some of that touch, which is why I believe the Browns are kicking the tires. Because when you just evaluate it, listen, I think Sam's a better player and probably a better fit at the quarterback position in the National Football than Sam Darnold. But Josh there's this element of almost mythical proportions with his arm where you're just like, my goodness, I mean, this guy he's got the strongest arm I've ever seen.
You think you can compare Allen to Cam?
Gosh, I think it's a disservice to both.
When Cam came out, I literally said, I've never seen that before. He was a defensive end who ran a 4.6.
Or a tight end. Yeah.
I mean, Cam to me was, and I had criticisms of him. I thought he lacked maturity at sometimes. But I was like, okay, I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
He's a 6'10" point. I haven't seen that.
And more importantly, that's what he used to win. It wasn't Cam's arm strength that he used to win at the college level and then coming out. That's what Josh does. Josh Allen uses his arm strength. That's his biggest weapon, and that's what he uses to win.
There's a new boss in town at Buffalo Wild Wings, and he deals in bacon. It's the Bacon Boss Burger, featuring bacon 3 different ways and a blanket of white cheese sauce. And he's joined by other new favorites like the smothered cheesesteak quesadilla, sweet chili shrimp, and Alaska Cod Classic, all pair perfectly with a Sam 76, a fruity ale with the crisp finish of a lager. Hurry in today and try them all before they're gone at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports, available for a limited time while supplies last. Please drink responsibly.
To another future NFL quarterback making headlines, Josh Rosen, UCLA. Many scouts have been claiming that Rosen isn't that committed to football because, unlike other less fortunate players, he comes from a pretty privileged background, has outside options outside of the game, and Rosen responded to those concerns saying, quote, all right, my family isn't like stupid wealthy, but I'm coming from a place where if football didn't work out, I don't have to go and work at McDonald's. Other NFL players had the same opportunities. I just haven't tried to hide it or fool teams into thinking I'm somebody I'm not. My passion for the game lies in the game, not my need to play it. All right, Whitlock, you convinced Josh Rosen is fully dedicated to football.
Well, it all depends on your definition of fully dedicated. I think in Josh Rosen's mind, he is. But I also think Josh Rosen said something there that I think he's probably aware of. It's like, football is for the desperate. It's best played by people that have no other options. Quarterback is a bit of an exception, but when you find someone like Tom Brady, who plays the game with the same passion and desperation as Ray Lewis, then you have a chance to have the greatest quarterback of all time. Josh Rosen's never going to be that guy. I think he seems to be aware of that. He's not desperate to play. Football's not a necessity for him. And so I think he's always going to struggle to be fully dedicated. And then when you toss on the fact that he has these visions of using his platform to accomplish things beyond football, I think when you start thinking that way going in the door, when you haven't mastered the game of professional football, it's a red flag for me.
I totally disagree. Peyton Manning was never desperate. He was wealthy. Steph Curry was wealthy. Most now pro athletes in the NBA have a relative that's played high-level sports, and this is not the 60s. We have millionaire after millionaire.
Let me push back a little bit on your Peyton Manning never desperate. When you come from that family, and when you have as much talent as him, the desperation he feels is not living up to his potential.
They might not be desperate financially. You're talking about desperate.
Matt Ryan
If he ends up with Joel Rye's NFL career, then it's an epic failure for Peyton Manning.
Wait, this whole idea that, okay, Who ends up going to Wall Street? Ivy League kids. They don't come from poor backgrounds. What drives them? It's not desperation. What drives Peyton? Russell wasn't poor. Brady wasn't poor. Rodgers' family wasn't poor.
No. You're defining desperation as just economic desperation. There are some people so desperate to be great at football. I don't think Josh Rosen's that guy. I think being great at football would be nice, but Tom Brady, I don't think he came from the streets of the hood or whatever, but he has a desperation to be the greatest quarterback ever that Peyton Manning also had.
Josh Rosen was the #1 quarterback in the country out of high school.
Yeah.
You don't get there unless you're driven.
Well,
You can
listen,
get that on talent.
He's exceptionally talented. I mean, he plays the position beautifully. His movement, his efficiency of movement in the pocket, his ability to have a quick release, layer the ball. I mean, he makes every single throw. He's smart. If this was just an on-field critique, I think he would be the #1 pick in the draft. Unfortunately, what comes with that beautiful player on the field is this contradiction off the field. And that piece that for the ESPN the magazine was the entire thing was a contradiction. In one sentence, he was talking about how, this is just me, deal with it. I am who I am. And in the next sentence, he's saying, I need to refine my message and curtail what I am. And so that was a contradiction. In one sentence, he was talking about his biggest mistake in college off the field was using the F word in the incident with Trump that went viral online. And then in 3 other answers within the piece, he uses the F word. That struck me as just a contradiction. He talks about, he was asked a question, well, are you going to care about politics or just play football? He says both. Well, that wasn't the question. Again, I just don't quite, to your point, Jason, I don't know what he wants. There are guys that, it doesn't have anything to do with your financial background. It has everything to do with your desperation to be great on the football field. And if that's not quite there and can't be defined, that's what teams will start to question.
Yeah, and I feel like as you look at it, so as a college kid, there's a big pie, and I only get so much time to focus on different things. School is a portion of that. Becoming a college student and your friends and fun is a part of that. Football is a part of that. There's all those things make up. And as you transition from college to pro, 100% of that early on in your career, particularly your rookie year, you're not doing foundations charity stuff. You're not doing a ton of marketing stuff. The top picks usually say, don't make me famous till the second year. So that first year or two, you have an opportunity to go all in on football, which you didn't have in high school and you didn't have in college. I think the real challenge that's in front of Josh is he's got an opportunity to make a choice, to go all in on football and to really study the guys who've done it ahead of him. And if he goes to a place like the Giants, he's got a chance with Eli. He goes to a place like the Jets, he's got an amazing chance with a guy like Josh McCown. So his opportunity now in the first year of his NFL career is to see what it would be like to go 100% in football. To your guys' point, not to care about politics, not to care about social change, not to care about any of these other things other than football that some of the guys we referenced earlier, Peyton, Tom,
People
Drew,
talk
have done.
about distractions, but Peyton Manning ran several businesses while he was a football player. He had beer distributorships.
But not his rookie year.
Well,
And that's what I'm talking about.
That's
There's a sweet spot,
difference.
I don't know. I think the question is he fully dedicated to football? Phillip Rivers has 8 kids. He's dedicated to his family and football.
No, and no question about it. But I also think Phillip Rivers has a great desire, and when I watch him play, he seems desperate to be great. And some might say if he had 3 kids, maybe he'd have a bit more success. But he's chosen family, and I'm not second guessing that. Everybody has choices to make. Some guys get married later in their life because they're so in on their career. In all different kinds of professions, guys and women make sacrifices, and you have to question, what is he willing to sacrifice to be great? We just watched Tom versus Time. Tom Brady's like, I'm going to push everything in to be great, even at 40, even after he's established his greatness. And again, that sets a very high bar. Josh Rosen's going to finish well below that. And some teams might not be comfortable with how far below that he falls.
Welcome back. Joining us now, Hall of Famer Ray Lewis. Christine Leahy, co-host on The Herd. Here we go. Let's get to the Patriots owner, Robert Kraft. He's getting a lot of attention after joining his friend, 76ers owner Michael Rubin, on a visit to a Pennsylvania prison where they met with rapper Meek Mill, who is serving 2 to 4 years for violating his probation, a sentence that many people, including Rubin and Kraft, believe is unfair.
Every time I see him, I just come away more impressed. He's very intelligent, and makes it clear to me we have to do something with criminal justice reform. His kind of case to be in a situation like this is really bad, and I guess for me, I know some of our players in the NFL have talked about this, and I see it firsthand that it's just wrong, and we have to find a way to correct it and also help the community help themselves so that it's just sad.
All right, Whitlock, you think Robert Kraft is sincere about his feelings toward Meek Mill?
Yeah, I do think he's sincere. I don't think he has a full command of the situation. I think he's following what's popular right now over social media. I think that the Meek Mill situation is complicated. I've been writing and talking about America's mass incarceration problem for 15, 20 years. And it's a real issue. I'm not sure if Meek Mill is the embodiment of that issue. And so we've moved into a situation now where we pick the symbol and then we try to fill it with the substance that we want after the fact. And so Meek Mill is a symbol for a lot of elite black people, a lot of elites and verified people over Twitter, but I'm not sure if Meek Mill is filled with the substance. I'm not sure he really represents what's going on in the America's criminal justice system. Again, people want to turn this into a racial issue. The judge that has put him in prison is an African-American woman. He has done some things to violate his parole. He's, to be quite honest, he's not my concern. He's a millionaire rapper. He's not representative of the poor people of color who get caught in the criminal justice system unfairly. This is a guy, to me, that has blown an opportunity many, many times, and people trying to virtue signal over Twitter have chosen them as their symbol, and Robert Kraft has followed right in behind.
I don't know his depth of knowledge on the situation, but NBA owners and NBA players have always felt more aligned. In recent years, we've seen the NFL owner up here and some division with his player. So an NBA owner says, Bob, you could do yourself a favor. Why don't you connect with an issue that's big in the NBA? Is that part of it? Is this
I think it is.
An NBA owner, and the NBA owners, by and large, the players like the NBA owners. In the NFL, you're an exception.
Yeah.
Most NFL players feel like owners way up in the tower. So it feels like Kraft is like an olive branch. Yeah. I am reaching out to my players' concerns. Do you buy that? Do you think?
I think that's part of it, no question.
Yeah. It sounds like they have a relationship, right? So they've spent some time together. And I think Kraft is now starting to find out what's really going on in the black communities when it comes to recidivism and all of those different type of jail reforms, right? And so one of the things that when you speak to a person like Meek Mill, who's been through the system time and time again, when you hear it from his level, then there's what you're talking about, Jay, there's 2-3 levels below that.
Yeah.
People that's really going through that time and time again. Myself just coming from Jessup Prison speaking, it's the same thing. When you hear these cases, when you hear what a lot of these guys are going through, it's absolutely absurd that many people will be in jail. And I'm telling you, Colin, it's crazy enough when you see these cases on what these kids are in jail for. A lot of these kids are in jail for something just like stealing something out of a store.
Now, but in your point, Meek Mill's has had a gun issue.
Right, he's been arrested for legitimate things.
Right.
And I agree with you. I think that Robert Kraft has really taken an interest in this. He did an op-ed in the Boston Globe with Devin McCarty and his son, and it was talking about his support for juvenile justice reform. So my concern is that he chose Meek Mill to be his example for that. Because if you're really focused on reform, Meek Mill has had so many different opportunities to do that. They told him that he should go get his high school diploma. They told him that he should go to etiquette class. They told him you can have probation instead of jail numerous times. They told him to focus on his music instead of drug dealing. So he was given all those opportunities for reform. and didn't take them, and so he wound up in jail. Whether you agree with whether his sentence is long enough or short enough is beside the point. I'm concerned that Robert Kraft chose him as the example for what he's trying to get involved with.
Again, a group of celebrities have latched on to Meek Mill to shore up their black credibility over social media. And again, there is a problem with the criminal justice system, but we're not getting to it because, again, let's take Meek Mill's not the typical guy in the joint. Because the typical guy in the joint, his family gets so exploited financially, you wouldn't believe how much it costs to get phone calls in and out of a prison to the family member who's just trying to keep a lifeline with the guy. Now they're experiencing the financial burden. I've had this in my own family. Some single mothers in my own family that are breaking their back financially because their sons are incarcerated, and the system then financially exploits the mother on the outside into just putting money on their books. If you want decent socks to wear, or shoes to wear, it's all overpriced. And so there's this financial exploitation that goes on with these families. Again, we're not getting to any of that because we're trapped in a free Meek Mill hashtag and a celebrity movement rather than the real movement. However, I think Ray makes a good point, and I think you make a good point. This is an educational process for Robert Kraft.
Right.
And so if his entry level is Meek Mill, and then we can pull him and say, okay, now I'm gonna move you away from Meek Mill and move you over to this real stuff.
Show you some other stuff.
Yeah, let me show you what's really going on. We have an opportunity here, and so I don't want to beat up on Bob Kraft or Michael Rubin or anybody that's supporting Meek Mill.
Does he know, on a lighter note, that Dreams and Nightmares was the Eagles song, and the Eagles beat him in the Super Bowl, so maybe don't support
Now that's going next level. That was next level.
All right, welcome back. Ray Lewis is here. Joining us now is the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. It appears the NFL national anthem controversy isn't going away anytime soon. According to Mike Woke Florio, when the Bengals met with free agent Eric Reid, a.k.a. the first player to kneel alongside Colin Kaepernick, they wanted to know if he'd kneel or not. Bengals owner Mike Brown reportedly told Reid that he plans to ban the protest and wanted to see Reid's reaction. Cowherd, you have an issue with Brown asking about the protest.
Well, the NBA doesn't allow it, so you never have to ask. The NFL does allow it, so they want to see your interest. And he's a marginal player, and so is Kaepernick. And great players have leverage with GMs. Marginal players are going to be asked questions, and they don't have leverage. This is the way employment works. The better talent, the more I dictate terms with my boss. The less talent, the more my boss dictates terms with me. Eric Reid was moved to a different position last year. He's not an elite player. And they're saying to themselves, all right, you're not Aaron Rodgers, you're not Earl Thomas, you're not Eric Berry. We're not looking, you're not going to give us any distractions. We're not going to put up with anything.
He's being interviewed in Cincinnati, which is middle America. I'm from Indianapolis originally. That's 70 minutes from Cincinnati. I got family, my brother, nephews, sister-in-law, they all live in Cincinnati. It's middle America, and he's running a business that I think made very clear last year that the national anthem protest hurt television ratings, which hurt the business. And so if a businessman can't ask a potential employee about a decision that clearly has hurt the business, what are we talking about here? So Mike Florio irritates the hell out of me. He's letting Eric Reid use him. All this information was clearly leaked from Reid's camp. And Florio puts it out there with no resistance. Reid was caught off guard by the question. How could you be caught off guard by the question? You've announced, Eric Reid announced, I'm not going to kneel anymore. He can't be surprised that he got asked about it. How can you put it out there, oh my God, the Bengals let these players that have broken the law, they allow them on the team. You think Mike Brown, the owner, hasn't questioned Joe Mixon about the events that happened before he got to the Bengals? Of course he did, because it affects the business.
By the way, they're asking college kids questions. who most won't be future employees. So if you have a player who you think you're going to hire, why couldn't you ask him a question?
You know what? Look, I think if you don't ask them, then you should know that they're not serious. If the owners don't ask them that question.
Right.
Right. So if Eric Reed goes into an office and the owner don't ask you if you're going to kneel or
They're not interested.
then they're not interested. But if they do ask you that, they want to find out if you're serious about coming and not bringing in distractions to my football team, right? And so once you get there, I think what he should do is be very open to any question that comes right now, right? Because he's trying to get a job back. And I think one of the things that he has to be careful with is taking that subject and saying, oh man, they asked me about the protest. You know? No. If they ask you about it, openly answer it. And that's absolutely, I've done it then, but I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to focus on football. I'm ready to, and that's why I think, when you think about the leverage that teams have going into this, definitely the Bengals. Let me tell you why. The Bengals are trying to do a few things. One thing, they're trying to figure out how to beat Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Right.
They can't do that. They can't get past that hump, right? So anything else that takes away from that, they want to know it up front. Let me know what I'm dealing with, because they got enough they deal with already. Right, they have a lot of on the field
All
issues.
his job's on the line.
Right, it gets on the line, and so you can't. I don't think you can. I think he should be excited that people actually ask him that question. Is where I'm going.
Yeah. Ray, you make a good point, because if they weren't serious, they wouldn't even ask him about it.
Yeah.
But the owners can't win here. If you don't bring in Eric Reed, well, he's being blackballed by everybody. You bring him in and ask him. Well, you can't ask him that. Come on, that's out of bounds. And I don't want to defend Florio. He's a nice guy. I know him well.
Don't.
I did think some of the things he said in here were a bit strange. The caught off guard makes no sense, because Reed did say he's not kneeling. But, to take it a step further, why are we making this so complicated? It's very basic. The commissioner, the owners, nobody wants kneeling, right? We don't want kneeling in the NFL, period. It's hurting the business. End of story. Why does it have to be complicated?
What's amazing,
It's very basic.
have you noticed this, is that the newspaper industry has largely died.
Right.
Blogs now are dying.
We're alive, Colin. We're doing
Barely. Magazines, magazine industry, dying. Sports Illustrated looking for a new owner. These are the people that are strident in their belief that players should not be asked questions. These are journalists.
And you've made the point. Mike Florio's not a journalist. He clearly has an agenda. He is using Eric Reed. Eric Reed, if you're watching this, if Mike Florio calls you, don't respond. He's not giving you good advice. He thinks he's going to shame NFL owners into signing you. He thinks that it's a good look for you to leak all that information to him, give him some clickbait, but it damages Eric Reed. Because now every NFL owner, I can't have a private conversation with him. Right. Because if I do, he's going to go right to Florio and tell all my business. And the NFL and any business is about trust.
Well, and the other thing, I'll just go back to this. We have all these media businesses dying right now. And they're dying because, for a variety of reasons, that the people don't trust newspaper or like them. They can't monetize whatever it is. But in the end, people are losing jobs in the media because the business is failing. And yet they're shocked that NFL business owners are saying, last year we had some failure for the first time in a decade, and the NFL owners want to correct it. This is American business. You find leakage, you lose commerce, your ratings are down. Then you correct it. So the owners are doing what any business person would do. We want to get out of the kneeling situation because it's hurting our business.
From a basic resume, right? Everyone has to turn in their resume, right? Whatever your resume has on it, that has anything that an owner will not accept, that's what they're going to review. And that's all we're talking about. So I think every question, to get back in the league, listen here, Eric, get back in the league, answer every question, be open to every question. Do not be shocked by no question.
Hold for 1 second, Colin, because, Ray, this is what's frustrating me about this entire week. When we started with the comments you had about OBJ, it's almost like the media is intent on misleading young players. Now, I could put a color on it and say black players, but it's just like misleading all players, and no one has to follow simple common sense advice. Because if you give it to them, you're a bad person. But Colin, when I came back here to Fox, when I left the last time, I left abruptly and caught Eric Shanks by surprise. And so when I came back, I had to go and explain myself to Eric Shanks.
That's what I mean.
And he had a right to question. Hey, man, you left the last time. You didn't give us a warning. Blah. It's all appropriate questions. I can't go anywhere and complain about that because the man wanted to question me about some things that weren't good for his business previously. Why can't we give these young people the good advice that we have all used to move ahead?
You won't have any stories.
Colin Kaepernick may not be in San Francisco anymore, but that doesn't mean there isn't drama with the Niners quarterbacks. Niners legend Joe Montana is raising eyebrows for comments about the team's current quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. First, Montana said it was too early to anoint Garoppolo as the team's savior. Then he went on Good Morning Football and said this when asked if Jimmy G was ready to carry the torch.
I think it's still a little early for it myself. I mean, he's obviously had a lot more success in the games he's played in so far than the other quarterbacks that have been there recently. I think this year will be a big tell on it. You know, they've paid a lot of money for him. There's some belief there that he'll be there for a while.
All right, Whitlock, you agree with Joe Montana?
I do agree. I think Joe's take is reasonable, and I'm sure Ray will, we're crowning these guys too early, but I'm ready to crown Jimmy Garoppolo. I've seen what he did in those 5 games last year and the 2 games he got to play in New England.
You get very emotional.
I'm ready to, Colin, I'm ready to crown him.
You had the Cavs never losing a game after Jordan Clarkson got there.
I was emotional.
That's what I'm saying.
This is factual. I've seen enough.
Okay.
I'm in the projection business. The guy deserves the crown.
Well, get your film projector and rewind it because this is a rebuilding franchise. They don't have an elite offensive lineman.
Right.
They don't have an elite receiver, an elite back. Like, I like their front 7. They're rebuilding. The Rams roster can win a Super Bowl. The Eagles can. The Steelers can. If they go 8-8, they should be overjoyed with their progress in the tough NFC. You got to be slow. We got to slow down on Jimmy G. NFC is loaded right now.
He can still be the savior if they go 8-8, though, Colin. I mean, come on, listen. Nick Foles took over for Carson Wentz, and what did we all say? No chance at a Super Bowl. What did Nick Foles do? Nick Foles came through. All right, fine, Ray, you were the exception. Hey, listen, when Tom Brady took over for Drew Bledsoe, did anybody think he would be the savior? I mean, this is a franchise who had Joe Montana, Steve Young, and then a wasteland for a long time until Colin Kaepernick, your buddy, saved them. 3 straight NFC title games, went to a Super Bowl, I think lost to your Ravens. And now they're back in the wasteland. 4 straight years, no playoffs. People want hope. Fans want hope. My New York Jets just traded up in the draft. We're excited. We've got hope. We're hopeful we can find a savior. We probably won't because that's what we do as the Jets, but Jimmy G, why can't we be hopeful that he's the guy? I got no problem.
Well, I don't think Joe is saying that he's not hopeful. I'm just saying just be careful to crown him too fast if you're Joe. I mean, you're talking about Joe now. You're talking about 4 rings.
Nobody's comparing it.
Right. But I'm saying, like, what I'm saying with Joe is I think Jimmy G is special. I do. I'm telling you, I've watched him enough to think he has that it factor, right, from the quarterback position. His knowledge of the game, his understanding of defensive coverage, the moment something moves, or the moment something don't look right, he can adjust. And just his leg, his durability to get out of the pocket is absolutely amazing. But when you talk about a team that doesn't have the team to go back and compete in the NFC, right now in the NFC, San Francisco might be 15th or 16th. Right, when you think about competing
personnel-wise.
Yeah, personnel-wise.
Ray, they did beat 2 playoff teams last year. When they went 5-0, they beat Titans, Jaguars. Those are good teams.
If you're still sitting home watching the playoffs, great job. I'm just saying. Just give him time. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes we put so much pressure on people, right, that if he doesn't hold up to our expectations, like, oh, he's a bust. Oh, you paid him $137 million. This guy's a bust. I'm saying let the kid go do what he does. I think Jimmy G will be very special in San Francisco. I really do. But I'm saying I wouldn't put all that pressure on him, and I kind of agree with you.
And that's why I was one of the last people to put Ray on London Fletcher's level, because I didn't want to crown Ray too fast.
Welcome back. Jason McIntyre here. Former NBA great Caron Butler. 14 years. Good. My all-time favorite player in NBA history, Russell Westbrook. Love that guy. Needs 16 rebounds tonight to average a triple-double for the 2nd straight year. Now, some people have made the wildly outrageous claim that Westbrook's been padding his stats. And might I say, those people should be ashamed of themselves for not realizing this last year. Well, today, Westbrook responded to those outrageous claims.
First of all, it's not a process. It's not like Steven's boxing out and I get the rebound. Like, you know what I mean? A lot of people make jokes about, whatever, stat padding or going to get rebounds. If people could get 20 rebounds every night, they would. If people could get 15 rebounds, they would. The people that's talking or saying whatever they need to say, they should try and do it and see how hard it is. Since everybody's so, everybody wants to be talking, and I'm tired of hearing the same old rebound this, stealing rebound, all this. I take pride in what I do. Come out and playing, and I get the ball faster than somebody else get to it. That's just what it is. If you don't want it, I'm gonna get it. Simple as that.
Oh, Whitlock, do you like Westbrook's mindset?
I mean, he's a competitor, but no. I think he's so focused on his own individual basketball that he can't see that at this level that he's playing at, as long as he's been in the league, it's about the entire team. And so he's talking about what I do, rather than what we do. And so the triple-double's nice. It's a great accomplishment. I won't knock it. But I think his mind is too caught up in his individual success rather than team success.
Well, that's why I call him MV Me, is that he is a remarkable talent. Nobody in this league plays harder every night, harder every possession. I will never deny that. But we also have to be honest. Not every great star is easy to play with. Marbury was hard to play with at times. Iverson was hard. He is the current Marbury Iverson. Dynamic, amazing, a motor that's the envy of the league. But there are times he's the MV Me. And it's that the value of Magic was inclusiveness. Why I love Ben Simmons is inclusiveness. Why I love LeBron is inclusiveness. Dominique was just great to watch jam on people. And I think Westbrook gets into a tunnel, and even in that rebuttal, it was very much about my numbers and my stats.
Listen, I was raised by real OGs, not IG. So I respect every simple word that came out his mouth. Let's see you try it. He meant every word of that, and it's not easy. You can't pat stats. You have to work extremely hard. Even if the blueprint is out there for you to do it, it takes a ton of effort, consistency over the course of an entire season to make that happen. And he's done that for now 2 consecutive seasons. It's pretty special. So with that being said, he's a special talent. I love the way that he represents himself and imposes his will and played with that reckless abandon. Just that attitude and that thrust that we all appreciate.
But why is Kevin Durant now a Warrior?
Because he wanted to be a Warrior.
Because he didn't want to play with Westbrook.
He wanted to be a Warrior. That's what he wanted. And if the Warriors don't win or, they don't perform at a high level, he may want to be somewhere else. So you can't put that on just Russell Westbrook.
Why is Victor Oladipo now a significantly better player without Westbrook on a worse team?
Player usage. He's playing extremely well. Why is Paul George in OKC? I mean, he played extremely well in Indiana also.
But he's struggling now. He had the worst shooting month of his career.
21-5 and 3.
No, after the All-Star break,
struggling?
Paul George is shooting 30% on three-pointers.
Yeah,
he's got one
he's
foot
getting
out
his
the door.
opportunities.
I'm of the belief that Westbrook has seen Paul George kind of struggle. He knows Carmelo Anthony's not getting the rebounds, and he thinks he can do it himself. Carmelo joked today at shoot-around, Russ steals our rebounds. And he's saying it jokingly, but everybody knows this. The video's out there from last year. We posted it on the site, and people agree, like, he's a bit of a stat pattern. Now, I know he's a great player. We get that he's an awesome talent. But, Karam, when you come back to this, no man is an island. You cannot do it yourself. Michael Jordan didn't win anything without Pippen. We saw Shaq and Kobe by themselves afterward. They struggled until they each got help. Russell cannot do this himself. As Colin said, he ran off Durant. I know you don't want to say ran him off. Oladipo's thriving elsewhere. Paul George is going to leave. At what point do we look and say, geez, OKC made the wrong decision keeping Russell Westbrook. They should have kept James
By the
Harden.
way, players always love Westbrook. Yeah. He's a player's player. There's an old saying, like a comedian's comedian is not always the most popular comedian. Westbrook's a player's player. You would pay to watch him play. I mean, Alex English, remember Alex English, Kiki Vandeweghe?
Yes.
They're 20-point-a-game guys. Most players wouldn't walk across the street to watch Kiki Vandeweghe shoot jumpers. Russell's Iverson, a player's player. So he gets unified support from players. But I'm telling you, he is hard. The numbers don't lie.
Here's what happens, Colin, and we see it in all walks of life. We see it in every business place. There's always someone who works harder than everybody else. And you respect the effort. But experienced people often go tap that person on the shoulder and say, you need to work smart.
Facts.
You need to work smart. Working smart is better than working hard. And you can combine the two, work hard and smart. And that's what Russell Westbrook hasn't been able to accomplish. And so we all respect the effort. And we, in a league where not everybody's playing hard, he is,
Yes.
and it makes you respect it.
Yes.
But is he working smart? Because again, let's look at LeBron this year, 82 games.
I don't think it's that smart.
No, but he's working hard and smart.
Yeah, he's averaging a career high in assists. But Whitlock, you made a great point. And think about this. The point guard of your team is the engine. You're supposed to be smart, get everyone involved, make everyone better. Who's Russell Westbrook making
Says
better?
who?
No,
That's what
isn't
the
that the
great
job
point-
of a point guard?
Isn't a quarterback's
It's
job?
in the book, right?
It's in the book.
Well,
It's
no,
in
a
the NBA
quarterback.
book. The point guard makes
because of the-
everybody better.
Well, because of the usage, a point guard has the ball more, especially in today's NBA, and a quarterback has the ball more. Well, one of the criticisms of Cam is, Cam, hit the open guys, don't run, you get beat up. I mean, shouldn't a point guard be at least a more inclusive
This is
player?
what I say about the OKC Thunder in their season. Russell Westbrook averaged 30-plus points last season, 10-plus rebounds, 10-plus assists. Astronomical season, amazing. This season, he's forced to delegate a lot of things. He got to have a balance of incorporating two stars, one still being efficient, but on the back end of his career in Carmelo Anthony, trying to navigate through that spot. And, you talk to Coach Donovan. I had the luxury of interviewing him and just talking about the team and the chemistry. And he's like, look, it's a tough balance in that. We still don't have a true identity yet. And Russ is still getting us through that.
What you just said, a bad coach and a point guard with no self-awareness. All right, time for last call. After Ben Simmons said he should win the NBA Rookie of the Year, Donovan Mitchell found a clever way to smack back, wearing a sweatshirt with the definition of the word rookie on it, a reminder that Simmons was drafted in 2016 and sat out all of last season with an injury. Colin, whose side are you on here, Mitchell or Simmons?
Coin flip, Simmons, I think, is a more transformative talent. Mitchell's averaging 20. He's the best player on a 45-win team as a rookie.
Yeah, that's pretty unprecedented. Karan Butler was breaking it down to us, made a pretty good case for Donovan Mitchell
did.
as a future Dwayne Wade. Any rookie that can be analogized to Dwayne Wade, pretty impressive. But Ben Simmons may be Magic Johnson.